Howdy, y'all. Welcome to the Rainbow Crossing Podcast, a podcast where Gen X and Gen Z discuss life's challenges and how we face them as queer people. We have these open conversations to foster a sense of community through different perspectives. My name is Julio Guzman, and with me is the birthday boy, Daniel. Wow!
Wow. Yeah.
Happy birthday.
37.
37.
Yeah.
I'm really not good at math. If you could just add what you're missing from 37 to get to your right age, because 37 doesn't sound correct.
Well, we're in 2025.
Okay.
If you subtract 37 years, that takes you back to the year I was born.
Which is?
88.
Is it 88?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Something feels off.
Yeah.
You have a lot of grays for just being, what was the age? 38?
Sure. Is
Sure,
that what I said?
Some people
Yeah.
get, you even forgot. Some people do get gray hairs at like teens. So
first
who
of all,
knows?
they're white, not gray.
Oh, so we're past gray.
No. I never had gray. Redheads don't gray. We turn white,
I hear you,
unfortunately.
I
But I
just give
was
you a hard
turning
time.
white at I remember seeing the first few white hairs at 20, 21. But my dad went all white really early. So and my sister who's younger than me is all white as well. So I'm proud that I've been able to keep as much color as I have been. It's not having kids. That the lack of stress has really helped me maintain.
The hair color started to change a little bit more as you started to meet me.
The stress was introduced into my life at that point.
Oh,
Yes.
gotcha.
Yeah.
I'm kind of seeing double right now. Did you just look at me and want to wear what I'm wearing?
I think you imitated, art, as they say. Life imitates art.
I'm joking. I'm definitely giving Daniel today. I saw
Yeah.
him and was like, you know what? Might as well try to dress up to him as the best of my ability, and here I am. Tight shorts where my bulge is popping, pink socks, just like he always wears. We have the same.
They're literally the
socks.
same. Yeah.
And then I put a polo on because you always wear polos. So this is
Yeah.
my best drag of Daniel.
You did a great job.
Thanks.
Yeah.
You didn't know that I was gonna do this.
No.
And then I put this on, and you were like, "Wait,
Yeah.
it looks familiar." And I'm like, "Yeah."
I was like, you look really good today. This is the best you've
Okay,
looked
girl.
for the whole podcast.
Wow. Let's simmer down. Let's simmer down. But I'm excited to have this podcast episode with you because in reality, you are turning
50.
50, which
Yes.
don't say it too sad.
Yeah.
It's a great thing. So many years of life.
Yeah. It doesn't bother
So many
me.
years of experience.
Yeah.
And so much more to come still. So who cares what the number's like?
Yeah, I think the second half is definitely going to be better than that first half because that first half was loaded with so much.
First half, girl, you trying to live to 100?
Yeah. Easy. I'm going to outlive all of you, honestly.
If things don't change, girl, I'm going to pray for you if you make it to 100. I'm like 80, 85. Maybe that's a good time to go. Who knows? But
I'm going to be a very spry 100,
yeah, I mean, you're still pretty
Mental
smart.
faculties are all going to be there. It's going to be fun.
I agree. And in honor to celebrate you, we're going to get past all the news and all that today because this is not a normal episode.
Yeah.
This episode is all about you. And I know no one loves to talk more about themselves than the man himself, Daniel Harvell.
Oh.
And I prepared 50 questions for 50 years. You think we can crank out 50 questions in 45 more minutes?
No, I don't think so.
I'm joking. I only wrote 25 because you do love to talk and we would not make it through 50.
And plus, I'm often mistaken for being 25.
Correct. So I was like, we'll meet in the middle.
Yeah.
We'll meet somewhere in the middle
Yeah.
with all that. But we're going to start off with question number 1. Some of these are personal. Some of
Yeah.
these are just for humor.
Well, I don't like to overshare, so
For sure,
I'll
for
try to
sure.
do my best.
All right, we're gonna start at the beginning.
Yeah.
If you can remember that far away, since it was such a long time ago.
No.
But question number 1: what was your childhood like?
My parents were very loving. I mean, they haven't been the most gay supportive parents, but that came later in life. But childhood was good. I mean, my mom instilled in me this love of reading and then eventually writing. And I never wanted for anything really. I mean, surely we could have had more, but I had everything I needed. Certainly, we had a nice little life,
good.
but I was very sheltered. It was very even
Middle
into,
of nowhere, rural. What
it was small town, South Georgia,
Gotcha.
into small town,
In what
North
year was
Florida.
this?
It was the beginnings, 1975 through 1985 is when we lived in South Georgia.
Gotcha. So that sounds like some pretty rough times for a lot of people.
Certainly it was for anyone who wasn't straight white male.
For
Sounds
sure.
like today, actually.
But also sheltered off. So, like,
Yeah.
if you were in a bigger city, maybe you would experience these things. But if you were in a smaller town, maybe all you got was just what was presented to you. So sometimes
Right.
you might have been oblivious to what was happening.
Oh,
at that time.
I had no idea.
Exactly.
Until I was 10, really. I mean, I wasn't watching the news, or at least I wasn't absorbing the news. So I didn't understand what was going on in the world at large. So I didn't understand anything about race relations, about gay versus straight. I didn't know any of that. So I definitely lived in my own little bubble and just happily doing my thing, playing with my He-Man toys.
Why do I picture you like kind of dressed like a newsie with like some chopped pants and then like carrying a haystack like over your shoulder, like in the middle of South Georgia as like a 5-year-old kid?
It wasn't 1875. It was 1975.
To me, 50 years is a long time ago.
It is a long time ago. I agree.
But that's just where it takes me back. I think of everything black and white. And they make us think that at that time things were black and white, but they really were in black and white.
Well, TV was color at that point in time, but they still sold black and white televisions for a cheaper price. So I had in my bedroom until I was, I don't know, 13 or 14, I had a little black and white TV, just a little, and of course, it was big, no flat screens at that point in time. So black and white was still a thing, but it was for people who didn't have any money. So
Look at where you're at now.
Look at
We
me
love
now.
To think of that from where you were and to where you are now.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. So let's get on to that number 2 question. What fueled you as a kid?
I definitely developed a passion for reading and then for writing as a kid. And one of the big things that really was a turning point in that, where I realized that you could write books for a living and that there were actual people doing that job, and I wasn't just reading this thing that was created out of thin air. I met an author when I was in 5th grade. He was the author of Bunnicula. I don't know if you've heard of that book before. It was a whole book series about a vampire bunny.
A vampire bunny?
Mm-hmm. He sucked the juices out of vegetables.
That's kind of cute.
So it was very kid friendly.
Yeah.
There was always a mystery involved. It was Bunnicula, and then he had some other animal friends. The second book was The Holiday Inn, and then the third book was The Celery Stalks at Midnight. And I was just an avid reader, and I would read everything I could get my hands on. And this author was coming to our city, and we bought the books in advance. He signed. I still have the signed copies of those books.
Wow.
And that really just opened my eyes to, like, you can create this whole world for people to enjoy. And so that really turned me on to wanting to write as a profession.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
It must have really stuck with you if you still remember today.
Yeah,
Because
absolutely.
you remember almost nothing.
Nothing. Yeah.
All right, moving on to question number 3. As we're getting older, what is the scariest thing that has happened to you between birth to the age of 10?
At 10 years old was the first time my world kind of got shaken up a bit. And that's when we moved from the city that I was in, the only city that I remembered, and all of the people that I knew, my friends, my school. My dad had been having trouble finding a job. He had gone through a couple of different jobs, and he had found a job in a different city. And so we moved. And I'll never forget, he took me out to dinner, just him and me. I was just so happy. I was like, oh, it's just me and my dad going out for dinner, because we never did that. Mm-hmm. And I should have known something was up. And we went, and he told me at dinner that we were going to move. And I just immediately burst into tears, because that upended my entire world. And as we had said before, my world had been very sheltered, very in this protective bubble wrapped dome. And I didn't know anything about anything outside of that immediate little sphere that I lived in. So it was very unsettling. I wasn't, I would say, an introverted person, but that kind of forced me into a more introverted state for a few years, because that was the first of about 4 or 5 moves that we made over the next 5 years. So we moved almost every year for the next 5 years. as you're becoming a teenager and you're developing hormones, and as I was coming to terms with being gay and all of that stuff, like it really sent me for a loop, not having a solid foundation of friends to rely on.
For sure. I mean, all you've known is where you were at until that point, and it's like, hey, we're actually leaving all that behind and starting fresh. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, it was certainly the hardest thing to that point that I'd ever had to deal with. But, you know, like anything in life, it builds character.
All right. And question number 4, what is the happiest moment from your childhood?
I will never forget this, even though I was 5 years old when my sister was born. After my sister was born, I actually stayed with my grandparents for maybe a couple of weeks because my mom had a cesarean. So she needed to heal. And so it was just my mom and dad and my new baby sister at home. And when I was finally brought back to the house, there's a photo of me sitting on the couch and like pillows on either side, and then putting my baby sister on my lap. And
so cute.
and I don't know why I'm getting really emotional just talking about it, because she's just a wonderful person, and I love her with all of my heart. But there was just this intense amount of joy on my face.
I'm sure.
And the photo, I'll have to share it with you.
It's basically another version of you.
Yeah, she is. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Cindy, I'm so sorry that happened to you.
I'm sure she's great. You're amazing
She
yourself. Let's see. Question number 5. If you could tell your 10-year-old self something, I feel like RuPaul right now, what would you say?
Don't be afraid. There is a lot going on in the world, and sometimes it is scary, especially as adults. It is scary. But there are a lot of wonderful people in the world as well. There's a lot of love, and there's a lot of compassionate people. You will find your tribe one day, and you're going to shine and excel in a lot of things. So don't let the fear of the unknown overwhelm you.
Wow. Very well said.
Thank you.
And I love all those things.
Yeah.
That would be amazing to hear as a child.
Yeah.
Because you're so blindfolded at first, and then it just
Completely.
removes. Then you become an adult, and the blindfold comes off, and you're like,
Yeah.
can we put those back on, actually?
Please.
Because
Yeah.
no one told me it was going to be like
Yeah,
this.
this was a trick.
We see all you stressing, but we never thought that it would be us becoming adults and also stressing like the things we saw.
Yeah.
But here we are. Question number 6. Okay. I know being a teen in like the 1950s was very difficult, but I would like to know, what were your teens like? What were the vibes, the music, things to do for fun? Like what would you do for your teens? And I know it was not the 1950s. I was exaggerating.
Yeah. It was the late 80s into the early 90s. And like I said, like I was moving around during those teen years. So my experience was, I hope, different from what a lot of people who were raised in that era experienced, because I did not have that friend group. And that's one reason that, you know, in my adult life, I've come to value my friends, my good friends, so much. It's because I just didn't have that foundation when I was younger. I had friends, certainly, but like I said, I was going through all of my own struggles, particularly being gay at a time where you didn't tell that to anybody. So there was a lot of internal struggle going on. I was like the editor of the yearbook, and I was the vice president of the honor society, and I was very into school, and that was my focus. And I graduated 3rd in my class, and so I did well in school. It's because I wanted to focus all of my energy into something, because I didn't have that friend group at the time that I just had longed for. So my teenagers were fine. I mean, I definitely avoided a lot of the typical teenage struggles of having sex at an early age and drinking at an early age and maybe doing drugs at an early age. So I avoided all of that. So I'm not mad about that part. But I do wish I had experienced a little bit more of the camaraderie. And I did to a small degree, but I always felt like an outsider because I came into that friend group at a later point, and because I knew I was different from everybody else just because I was gay.
Well, now knowing that you were a very good student and well-behaved kid, The next question number 7 is, what is the most rebellious thing you've done as a teen?
And it wasn't even really really that rebellious, but it made my parents
littered.
so yeah. No, I would never do that. It did make my parents really mad. So I did have a few friends, and of course I wanted to belong, and we pitched a tent in my backyard.
Oh, that's it?
And no, that wasn't the bad thing. So it was
Or
me.
is like pinched a tent code for something?
No, not what we wanted to be code for. So I think it was like 3 other guys, and one lived in my neighborhood, and we were just gonna camp out. And they wanted to go drive around when we were supposed to be sleeping. And so we got, and one of them had a car. So we must have been all about 16 or so. And we even like left the lights off and kind of let it coast in neutral down the street. So, no one would hear in the house. But as we were leaving, I looked to the front door, and my mom was standing. There was a big glass window, and my mom was standing there. And I said to them, I was like, I think my mom just saw us leave. It's not like anything crazy happened. We didn't go and drink or do, anything stupid. But we did leave, and that betrayed my parents' trust. And, and I had never done anything at all. And I know that even sounds so like nothing.
You're making me seem like a demon if I were to tell you the craziest things I
don't
did.
think I need to make you seem that way.
Wow. Okay. I guess from there we're moving on to the next question.
Sure.
Question number 8. When you graduated high school, what were you most proud of?
Graduating 3rd in my class when I had been to 3 different high schools was, I think, a pretty big achievement.
Oh, for sure.
Because I when I switched from high school 1 to high school 2, I got into a geometry class that I didn't know what was going on because my first geometry class had not gotten to where they had. So I was really behind in a lot of areas. So that was the only time I got a C in that geometry class, that second version of geometry. And that was the only time I'd gotten anything other than an A. And so that knocked my GPA from a 4.0 down to a 3.997 or whatever it was. So I was very proud of the fact that I was able to accomplish academically what I was. And then I got a really good scholarship to Florida State University as a result of that. I did work a little bit because I did owe a tiny bit of money on that. It didn't cover everything. But by the time I finished school, like I had covered my tuition myself. Yeah. So I was very proud that my academic success had allowed me to continue on to, higher education at basically no cost.
Yeah.
I wish everybody could go through that these days.
Yeah. Question number 9. First adult thing, where were you when you finally felt like an adult? Like when you were like, oh, I'm out of school, I'm out of college, whatever it was. At what point after 18 did you finally feel like I'm an adult?
It was
the blindfolds are off.
It was years later. I would not call myself a man because I didn't feel like a man. I didn't feel like a boy, but I didn't feel like a man. So I called myself a guy. I'm just a guy. Mentally, emotionally, I just wasn't there yet. Physically, I was as grown as I was going to be. And, I was out in the real world. I had a real job and, I was taking care of business. But I had still been so sheltered by my parents and was still living a very naive life about the world in general and had not maybe completely come to terms with being gay. Even after, I still didn't feel like I had fully embraced everything that being an adult means. And it was very easy for me to help someone else. My first real relationship. Like I took care of a lot of things. Like I did the cooking and the cleaning and did the job while he was in school and paid for everything. So I was doing.
Okay, Daddy.
Yeah. Not just now, back then too. And I still didn't feel like a man.
Crazy.
And it wasn't honestly until that relationship ended and I had to take care of myself. And I really just literally had to pick myself up off the floor with the help of a lot of amazing friends. Mm-hmm. At that point, once I started seeing success in my life on my own, and I realized like, oh, I can do this. And I never really had enough faith in myself. I didn't have enough of that self-love and understanding of, even though intellectually I understood, like, yes, I had graduated third in my class in high school. And yes, I went on to get a good college education. And, I was well-liked and relatively social. And, so I knew I could navigate intellectually the world, but I just didn't think I could really be successful. And then I proved I could. So it wasn't until I was in my late 30s where I felt like, oh, now I'm a man. Now I'm an adult. Like,
wow.
Now I've got it. And that's why I always say to you, like, everybody's on their own journey and they'll figure out in their own time, in their own way. I know I can be a little hard on people who are your age because I compare them to you, and you're more advanced than a lot of people your age. So I really try to step back when I start to navigate in that direction because, like, I wasn't there. I wasn't as advanced as you are at your age now.
Well, there is no time limit, but also thank you for the compliment. This was about you, and you kind of turned it around towards me, so I appreciate it.
Of course.
Me time. I'm kidding.
Okay, that's
it. More time for you. Moving on from that question, we're going to have 2 fun questions because they've been kind of serious.
Yeah.
Do you want the worst one first, or do you want the more...
Give me the worst.
All right. Fuck, marry, kill.
Okay.
Are you ready? This one's pretty bad.
Yeah.
RFK Jr., Trump, or Elon?
I can't kill all of them.
Trust me, that's not an option.
That would be, oh gosh.
It's hard. It's hard. And by the way, we don't like any of these men. I was just making this difficult for him because we need to hear it. We need to hear his real thoughts in regards to who he loves.
Well,
and who
okay.
he supports.
Yeah. I mean, I consider RFK to be the least bad of the 3.
Well, because he's like barely there, so it's
right. And he has a progressive wife, so I'm gonna say marry him.
Okay,
just because she's apparently has been able to put up with it.
Yeah,
and and he's the most attractive of the 3, which isn't saying much. So marry him. He's the only one of the 3 that I could handle for any length of time.
For sure. Your last 2 options, they have a lot of kids. So we know things are working well down there. So whoever you pick to fuck is going to have a good time.
So I'm going to go with Elon for that. And it's just because of the default answer. And I don't think I can say...
My palms are sweaty just thinking about you doing these things. It's gross.
I'm like... It's by default because, and I don't think I can say this on camera because we could get reported to the Secret
president.
Service.
Yeah, they're gonna come for us.
Yeah, the K, the capital
the red
T,
line, the flat line.
Yes,
we know who it would be.
Yes, and so that only leaves by default to fuck Elon. If I could fuck him over. Could we just change the wording a little bit?
Maybe do
there?
that, get all the money, and then just kick him to the curb.
Yeah.
Oh my God, a widow.
Yeah.
I'm a widow.
Yeah, thanks for that question.
Yeah, of course. Moving on to something that you'll probably enjoy a little bit more, but might struggle just as well because all these men are beautiful. We got one more fuck, marry, kill.
Okay.
This one is going to be Pedro Pascal, Jonathan Bailey, or Michael B. Jordan.
Oof.
All different flavors. All different vibes, but all so beautiful in their own way.
Wait, I have to kill one of them?
It's hard. I said it was going to be hard.
Okay, marry Pedro Pascal. He's just like, he's
daddy,
so daddy.
AF.
He's so marriage material, right?
There's not a lot of men that can make me feel like baby.
Yeah.
And he would make me feel like baby instantly.
100%.
Without a doubt.
And I don't want to be baby in a relationship with him.
Neither do I.
I want to be baby.
All day, every day. Pedro, if you're hearing this.
Yeah. We know you were just in Austin.
I know. We missed him. So, marry
Pedro. I don't think I could turn down fucking Michael B. Jordan. I couldn't do it. Like, he is so handsome.
He is, but you cannot kill Jonathan.
I don't. Like, you've left me no choice. You've left me no choice.
I mean, they're all
I'm not happy about it.
I'm not happy either. I will love all 3 of you. I never said I would kill any one of y'all.
Same.
Nope. He said, Jonathan, hear it. You heard it here first. He said he'd kill you. I'm sorry.
And he's the one confirmed gay guy out of the 3.
Look at you. Wow. You're stereotyping us. Here it goes, another gay man falling in love with straight men. There's an optional gay attractive man on the list, and you still went for the straights.
I'm not that way. I promise.
Wow. Jonathan, your baby. Or daddy, whatever you want. All right, moving on to question number 12. What is your wildest experience that you've had? And I know you've done some crazy things, and I know you've thrown some crazy parties.
Yes, I have.
What's the wildest thing?
I've led a very interesting life. I will say that there was a party that when I was with my ex that we threw, 5,000 square foot house. We invited 100 people, which is a lot of people, but for that house, no problem at all. By the end of the night, which was only like midnight when we started like cutting the party, we had over 300 people in the house. We just had waves of people showing up that we had no idea who they even were. And that in and of itself was a lot to handle, but the whole evening just kind of snowballed from one dramatic thing to the next. We had exes throwing drinks in each other's faces at the party. The floor was so sticky from drinks. We had some kind of fruity drinks. No,
wink, wink.
Really, from drinks. No, I'll get to that in a second. From drinks, like the next morning, we had to wear shoes in our house, and you had to like really just pull up your foot every step you took. I was giving tours because the house was relatively new at that time. Every single room that I went into, someone was hooking up in it. Every single room. And we had a lot of rooms. And so, even some closets as we were opening. We hired a couple of bartenders. One got really wasted and was trying to charge our guests for lap dances. And he was this huge guy, and I was Twinkie Twink back then, 120 pounds maybe. And this guy was 200 easy. And he was making a mess everywhere too. We didn't have enough cups because we had so many people. So I told him, just reuse cups. And he was taking the drink, and instead of just pouring out the ice or whatever was left over from the last drink into the garbage can, he was just throwing it. So he was throwing it against the wall instead of just like pouring it into the garbage can. So I
know OCD type A. I don't know if you were that much back in the day. But
worse. Yeah.
So you pulled the Karen.
So you were like, I was like, you're out. And I was like yelling at this guy because he was a mess. I was like, I'm watching what you're doing.
Yeah, that man could have sat on you and disappeared.
Exactly. There were so many people in this house, and we had a huge living room that there was a line of blue all across the wall from people's blue jeans had rubbed against the wall because there were so many people. You had to go against the wall to walk past everybody. So it left just a ring of blue around the entire living room. The next morning we woke up and a friend pointed to our very high ceilings, and he was like, that wasn't there yesterday. There was about a 2-foot long crack in the ceiling. This house had been recently built. It was built into the side of the cliff in Mount Bonnell area for people who are familiar with Austin. And we determined that there was just so much weight from the number of people in the house. It had forced the house to settle. We had to have the roof resoldered as a result of the foundation shifting during the party.
I'm so jealous I wasn't around at this time. Because that sounds like a party I would have loved to experience.
The cops showed up.
I'm sure.
It was a party for the ages for sure. Yes.
Oh, you're so boring when I met you.
Someone fell asleep in our front yard.
Like, you literally seem so boring compared to when I met you.
Well, I mean, if you compare me now to that person, yeah.
Completely
that
different.
was a lifetime ago. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. But sounds like a good time. That is a wild experience. Question 15. Did you have any role models growing up?
Growing up, I was just kind of like, as I said before, I was in my little bubble. So, my parents, I guess, for a bit. But then it was really in my adulthood that I started meeting and really engaging with friends to the point where I could say you're a role model. My friend Seth, he's 10 years younger than me, but he's just this very confident, determined force of a person. He knows how to sell himself. He knows how to sell products. He is a salesperson. And there's so many things about him that I admire, that confidence that he has, that he really became a role model to me.
Interesting, because I've seen Seth.
Not in all aspects of his life, not in everything.
That's great. That's great. Question 16. What was the most difficult thing about navigating your sexuality and identity as a young man?
Oh. I remember when I was just first starting to understand what being gay was, and it was the mid-'80s when the HIV crisis was hitting, and people didn't understand what AIDS and HIV really was. And I remember my father watching a news program, and it was talking about all these gay people who were dying, and he said something along the lines of, they're getting what they deserve. And at that point, I didn't really understand if I was gay or what all that meant, but I knew that meant something to me.
Yeah.
And it affected me on a level that was very disturbing for just, an 10, 11, 12-year-old, however old I was. So that was really hard to navigate, and that unfortunately set the tone for the next decade or so as I was struggling with being gay. It was hard enough with what society was presenting to us at that time, and then to know it was echoed in your own household by your family, your father. So that started things off really challenging.
When did you feel the most lost in life? At what age? What was the scenario?
37. It was the end of my relationship with the guy who I was with for 11 years. We had a home together, but it was in his name. He had a couple of businesses. He was is a dentist, and I was helping him with that work, helping build the website, doing a lot of marketing and PR, getting him like on the local news and doing all those kind of things, helping generate business for his offices. So in one fell swoop, I lost my home, I lost my job, and I lost my love. So those are the big three. And I lost all of them at once. And of course, he wasn't going to sell this house and offer me half. I also really didn't understand necessarily my rights at that time and the legal ramifications that I could have held him to. So I started my life over at 37 from scratch, basically. Yeah. I had a little tiny bit of money in the bank, and my car was paid off, thank goodness, and I had my clothes, my physical belongings. So I started over in life, and many people watching this have started over in life before. It's a hard thing to do, and I was doing it at such a late stage. So I was just frightened beyond belief. I just didn't know how I was going to make it. I didn't know who to turn to, what direction I was going to go in. And in retrospect, it was the best thing that could have happened to me.
For sure.
Because it forced me, feeling that fear, it forced me to face reality and to come to terms with who I really am. It forced this evolution upon me. I'm so glad I went through that. I don't want to do it again, but I know if I ever had to go through those same things again, I would handle it so much better because I'm a more capable person. I'm stronger,
For sure.
more at peace now than I was.
Yep. And that was 13 years ago. Look at all the blessings you have now.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's lovely.
Yeah.
All right. Question number 18. Aside from all that craziness, what is one thing that has kept you stable or sane throughout the years that has kept with you throughout your whole life? Like, I kind of think I know, but I would love to hear you say it.
You think I'm stable?
Stable enough.
Just enough.
Just enough.
Various things have played that role in my life. These days, like spirituality is a big component of it. Not religion, but spirituality. Mm-hmm. I do find a lot of comfort in that. But the friends who I've made along the way, particularly the last 15 years or so, just have really meant the world to me on many occasions. Post-breakup, that breakup from 2012, I leaned on some people tremendously. And there were a handful of people who were very patient with me and very kind towards me. It allowed me enough breathing room to heal to the point where I could continue on my own. I'm blessed with a lot of amazing people in my life, which is one of many reasons why I try to return the favor when I see friends who are down and out for whatever the reason is. So, community, friends,
Connections.
and honestly, that's why one of the reasons why we do this podcast is because we want to be able to offer that in some small degree to other people who are struggling through some of the stuff that we've been through.
Question number 19. What have you regretted the most so far in life, if anything?
Yeah, I try not to have regrets because I think even the bad decisions propel you forward.
For sure.
So I really don't have any regrets because I just am very happy with who I am and where I am in life, and all of the mistakes and all of the bad relationships that I was in got me to this point. So no regrets.
Well, that was actually a trick question.
Good.
So great job.
Thank
You
you.
answered it correctly.
Thank you.
No regrets, people, ever.
Yeah.
Question number 20. What have you enjoyed the most about life so far?
So I think that ability to find the joy, to find the gratitude, to find the positive in life, just in your day-to-day stuff, like being able to wake up every day and being able to say, "Oh, I'm so appreciative that I have this and that I have all these nice things," but also just that I'm in good health and that it's a beautiful day out today, or that we're getting all this great rain today. Whatever it is, if you can find the joy and the gratitude in everything in your day-to-day world, your life is just going to be sunshine even when it's not sunshine. So I'm grateful that I found gratitude.
We love that. We love the gratitude. Great answer.
Thank you.
Question number 21. This one's a fun question. We all know you've had multiple roommates over the years. So if you're listening to this, all his previous roommates, don't be butthurt for what he's about to say, okay? Because you might have grown. You might, emphasis on the might, have grown. But I'd like you to rate your roommates from least favorite to favorite. Question number 21 it is.
Who have there been? There's been Jason, who I don't believe you've ever met.
Don't know her.
There's been Jonathan Melendez.
I know her.
You definitely know. You, Lalo, Felipe. Israel was a temporary roommate for just a hot minute. We've got Philip now also.
You've had Lawrence.
I guess Lawrence counts. He was here for 6 weeks or so. That's 8.
Go for it, girl. Let it rip.
No, I can't. I'm not gonna place anybody in the bottom or the top. No, I'm not gonna do it.
This is a cop out.
Absolutely it is.
Wow.
I love all of those people in a lot of different ways. Like I love you very differently than Melendez. And everyone has brought something special into my life in ways that I really I can't compare them, honestly. I'm not falling into that trap.
Wow. People, we're trying to create good TV here.
Yeah.
We're trying to create good podcasting episode here, but if you're not going to answer these questions, then I guess we'll just end the episode here.
Wow.
I'm joking. But we all really know who number 1 would be since I'm still here, obviously.
Just because I couldn't get rid of you.
Moving on from that question, since you wouldn't answer it, what is the biggest goal in life for you?
That one's easy, just to be a published author. That's the goal. That's something that I've worked on for decades now, honestly, which, why am I not there yet? But again, no regrets. It's all a progression. I'm further along now than I was then.
And guess what? You will get it.
Yeah.
It's going to happen.
Yeah, and I have self-published a couple of books, but I want to be traditionally published and hit that New York Times best-selling list, and I've got a book ready to go. So we're getting there.
We will get there. Question number 23. What has been your favorite interaction ever? With a person, with an animal, who knows? With life itself?
That's a hard, wow.
You've met a lot of people.
I have.
That's why.
I know I don't want it to be recency bias, because I immediately think of Lexi Love.
Sure.
And as amazing as she was, I don't want to just default to someone who was recent
Fresh on your
in my
mind.
life. Yeah. there was a great day spent with Tiffany New York Pollard filming in Vegas
I would just
a
love
couple of years
to
ago.
spend a day with her.
That was a really, really fun experience. We had Manila Luzon here in the house a couple of years back, and that was a blast just
That was a
having
blast,
her
for sure.
here, the energy, friends loving it.
In your own home?
In my own home. Manila Luzon performed drag lip syncs in my home.
Downstairs.
Yeah.
And then we smoked afterwards. Well, not you, but
Yeah, you certainly did. Yes.
and I loved it. Never did I expect to smoke
Yeah.
with Manila Luzon, and it was
Yeah.
just great. Question number 24. If you know it off the top of your head, what is your favorite quote?
Okay, I had to look this up to make sure I got it correct. Ralph Waldo Emerson said, "Life is a succession of lessons which must be lived to be understood," which I think speaks to empathy. And, one of the things that we're struggling with in our society these days, certainly in this country, perhaps globally, that sometimes you just got to go through things in order to really understand them. And right now, people are starting to go through some things
And
in our
starting to
country,
understand.
and they're starting to understand. I hope they're understanding now. But I had to do it.
Yeah, we've all had to do it. It's part of life.
Yeah.
Great quote. I've never heard it before.
Yeah.
And I loved it. Last question. After all these years of life, all these years, what has been your favorite thing to accomplish or experience?
I think building this house was such a big accomplishment because I put down 20% on the house. I never thought I would have that much money. And it's not about money.
No.
It's about a lot of hard work went into it and me accomplishing something that I literally thought I could never accomplish 20 years ago. It's not that I didn't think that I was a capable person. I just thought I would never find a job that made enough money to do this or that. I thought I would always be the secondary breadwinner in a relationship, and to be able to afford a house on my own, 20% down, a brand new home. I don't know that that's like the accomplishment of my life, but
to this point.
But it was a very big one for me.
Of course.
And it's something that we enjoy.
Through everything you've been through.
Yeah.
You've been through so much. You've gotten the carpet taken out from under you multiple
Yeah.
different times. You've probably been in a place where you've never thought you'd be standing on your own.
Yeah.
And here you are after all those things with all these beautiful blessings.
Yes.
And hard work.
Right. So this represents all of that.
For sure.
Absolutely.
For
It's not
sure.
the house per se. It's that it represents the accomplishments in my life and the growth
And your
of my
50
life.
years of experience.
You keep
Whether
saying
how
50
rocky
years,
it
but
was or how beautiful it
Yeah.
was, you're at a place now where it feels amazing, I hope.
yeah. Oh yeah. Life is really good. And that's the one message that I just want to share with everybody, that we all go through bad times, bottom of the barrel. It doesn't seem like life will ever improve. And I know it's a cliche, but life does get better. It does get better.
Yep. And to end this video on a good note, I brought all your exes here to say final words about you and your experience. Come on in. I'm joking. That's not
I
happening.
don't think some
But
of them would show up.
I'm going to tell you happy birthday, and I
Thank
love
you.
you so much.
I
And
love
you
you.
are one of the most influential men in my life and the most uplifting, positive people I have ever met. And I appreciate you, and I hope to live another 50 years with you. Here. I'm joking, but Daniel, I love you.
I love
I
you.
can't wait to celebrate you in the future.
Thank you.
We're going to Puerto Rico in
Yes, yeah.
so soon.
Yeah.
Never left.
weeks.
This part of the States.
Yeah.
Now going to a different part of the States.
It's going to be an adventure.
It's going to be fun.
Yeah.
I'm excited.
Yeah.
But yeah, cheers to you.
Thank you. Thank you for the celebration. Thank you to our listeners, subscribers. Please give us a like, a comment, and we'll see you next time.
Yes, bye. Love y'all.
Bye.